Welcome to our homeschool room. I'm sharing with you some of the tips on how we organize our homeschool supplies and curriculum. The majority of the materials on our bookcases are books. We have games, definitely in the lower shelves, and we do have some curriculum. Curriculum that's workbook based is going to be categorized with the subject area that it is. So if it is a math workbook, as some of these are right here, then it is along with our math section, which also includes the sciences. If the workbooks are language arts workbooks like we have in this section here, then it's along with some of our other language arts materials as well as resource materials like dictionaries and thesaurus. And up above, we have more of our language arts materials, which also include some of the novels that we are reading for our high school years. The games that we have on the lower shelves also correspond with the subject area of the books above it. So these games down here are our history or geography games, and as we go up the shelves, we have different historical time periods and locations. The far bookcase on the right has all of our religious resources, and there are a few games on the bottom that are unrelated to that particular subject area. And then as we travel up above, we have more history resources and then a few books that we're no longer using. The first bookcase is actually half depth because it is right behind the door. It is not as deep as the rest of the bookcases. On the lower part of the bookcase, we have all of our Professor Noggin's trivia games. We love these games as part of our open activities for homeschool. There are a few other games included here and a few other books and resources, as well as some of the projects we've done for some of our main lesson blocks and unit studies. So let me take you bookcase by bookcase. Our first bookcase has the natural sciences. We have our botany, we have anatomy, and we have zoology. And once we hit the zoology resources, they go primarily in alphabetical order until we get to some of the units that we've done, where we'll have like an ocean unit, for instance, or an Alaska unit. And in that case, I put all of those resources together. So we start out with a little bit of mineralogy to begin with, moving into botany and anatomy, and then we have our zoology resources that take up the majority of our bookcases. We also have some games and flashcards and other resources that we use for this unit study and main lesson block. And then below here, we also have some games and other resources that coordinate with this subject area. It's not perfectly aligned. There are some resources here that we use for physics, but our physics, our chemistry, and our astronomy and math are all in this bookcase here, with some games at the very bottom. And then all of these chemistry resources here are kits from Mel's Chemistry. Then we have our math resources, as well as some chemistry resources. I have some shelves here that are not very tall, and I've included some of the games and resources that we'll use to help with some of the math subject areas like fractions, for instance, or the multiplication table, as well as some other games that we like to play with our open activities that are math-based. As we go up, we have some more math books, and some of these are resources that we use to help put together our main lesson blocks and our unit studies. And we have some compasses here and some other materials that we need. I like being able to see all of our resources. It really helps me know what we have. As we go up, we have our physics resources, and then we have our astronomy resources. The shelf above is also quite short, and we put some of our oversized books on the side, and that way we can include them here rather than putting them elsewhere. Same with that very first bookcase as well. Our next bookcase has our Waldorf materials as well as our language arts materials. It also includes some of the resources that I use as a homeschool teacher. And that includes some of the books that we have on watercoloring or drawing or handwork. We have some poetry books as well, and those are resources that I will use in putting together our main lesson blocks. We also have some novels and some other books that are fiction. Most of the books that we have are nonfiction, but we do include a few of them here. And we have some picture books on the bottom. Now my children are much older now, so in the past we had a lot more picture books where they could reach them, but now that they are older, those books have been replaced with other resources. The category that I have the most books for is history. Up at the top here, we have our ancient Egypt. We also have other ancient civilizations. Ancient India, Mesopotamia, and Persia are as well up on this top shelf. We also have an extensive collection of books for our Silk Road time period, which includes some picture books, the Silk Road books, some biographies, books on Islam and West Africa. And as we go lower here, we have other books still on that time period, as well as the ancient histories for Greek and Roman history. I do have these tiny little tags that help organize and identify the books that are on the shelves. Another alternative to those labels would be the brass plates, which are really lovely, which I wasn't sure if I wanted to use those or not. So I've got 3 right there, then nowhere else. And then in other areas, I have these little labels that work really well. We have more history above here. Above that light, we have our Middle Ages history, so that would be European history, whereas that time period of the Middle Ages in other parts of the world was identified as other time periods, so not the Dark Ages, not the Middle Ages, but the Golden Age, for instance. And so for that same time period, we do have a selection of books for the Middle Ages. Then the next 3 cubby bookcases are all US history, from the colonial times and revolution, Civil War, Western movement, indigenous people, all the way up to current and modern history through the 20th century. Then I have a few more bookcases up at the very top that house books that we're either no longer using or that we're ready to part with. And then at the very top, we have a lot of our projects that we've done throughout the years of homeschooling. This is a great place for us to display some of those projects, and it really brings me joy to see it all. There's one more spot where I house some of our curriculum. This is where I keep our Waldorf curriculum. So in each of these magazine folders, I keep 2 years of curriculum. Now I have added some labels to the side just so I can keep track of what year these main lesson books are for. So this is a teacher resource that you would use for a Waldorf approach to your homeschool. And these books themselves are the curriculum that you would use. They come with illustrations and some content, and I keep 2 years worth of main lesson books. So this one has 4th and 5th grade in this magazine folder, and then I have several other here for kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, 3rd and 4th, all the way up through 8th grade. These are the books that we use for the majority of our main lesson blocks and unit studies, but we also have materials that we use for these main lesson blocks and unit studies as well. And I love the open bin concept. I love storing materials in open bins because it makes it so easy to put things away and to get to them. And in here, over the years, they have housed different types of materials for our different main lesson blocks and unit studies. This one has our wood burning supplies and wood carving materials. In this bin, we have some kits for making pottery as well as basket making. And then in this basket, for instance, we have our astronomy materials. Now, games and things like this, I would prefer to put on our bookcases, but if there isn't enough room on the bookcase, then putting it in a bin is a great way to go. When we didn't have as much room on our bookcases, it was very convenient to have all of our materials in a bin. And then whenever we started a new main lesson block, it was really convenient just to grab the entire bin and have games and books and resources all in one place. Over the years, I have transferred a lot of the games and the books onto the bookcase so that I can have everything where I can see it. But I still love the concept of open bins, and so we still utilize them. And that's one place that we keep a lot of our open bins. Here is another place that we keep our open bins as well. And these bins mostly house our chemistry and our physics materials. I hope you enjoyed this look at how we organize our bookshelves. I hope it gives you some ideas on how you can organize your bookshelves for your homeschooling. I love organizing by subject rather than by grade level, since we often homeschool with multiple ages or multiple grades, and this really helps me choose a particular subject area and then use resources that can work with multiple ages, and this really works well for our unit study and main lesson block approach.